going to do in this section is we are going to take different functions. For example, if I gave you the function f of x, and this is all written here, but I think it's nice when I just write it so you can see it. If I gave you this function, f of x is 3x squared plus x, and then I give you the name of another function called g of x, and that one is called 4x minus 2. We can combine functions in many different ways. We're going to examine 5 ways to combine functions. 5 ways. Does anyone think they know one way to combine these two functions? What operations did you learn? How can you combine functions? Can I take this function, and how would I combine it with this one? Well, we can take two functions. Okay, I hear that. What was that?
Pandora's Yes.
All right, now, if you saw, excuse me, back there, up here. If you saw this, you should understand that they're asking you to take f of x and add g of x. There's another way you could have written this. You could do it like this. You could do that. Okay? Those mean the same thing. What would you think to do? Add them. Combine like terms. Simplify. These are all things that you should know to do. So if you saw this or this is asking you to take f of x and add g of x. What would you get for an answer? Any questions? What if I asked you, what's another way to combine functions?
Multiplication?
Well, what's
Subtraction.
what's in order? When we add, we can subtract. Now, would you understand what this means? What this means? Jacob. Jacob. If you want to wait,
I was 1 hour away.
it's up to you. Do you know what it's about?
No.
You can run over there if you want and find out and see if she can. Does it say SAP?
Yeah. I can just wait.
Then go.
As soon as possible. Yeah, who cares?
Well, it's not possible, so.
Okay. Everybody look at what I just wrote. Do you see a difference? First of all, these two mean the same thing. So when you see f of x minus g of x, you can shorten it to f minus g of x. What if I wrote g of x minus f of x? This is g minus f of x. Are these different problems?
Yes.
Yeah, why are they different?
Because one's a negative g of x and the other one's a negative f of x.
So if you saw this problem, what would you do? If you saw f minus g of x or this one, what would you do? Here's your two
Distribute a negative.
functions.
Distribute a negative to the g of x.
Yep. And simplify. So what would be your answer for this one right here? You would have 3x squared plus x, and this is where people will mess up, is they forget to distribute. And your job is to distribute this and simplify. And when you simplify, please put your answers in standard form. What is standard form?
AX squared.
Highest exponent first. Is that easy? So we can add, we can subtract functions. You guys said it before. What else are we going to do? How would I do, this is, telling you to do.
F of G.
It's not f of g of x, it's something different. So f, you might see this. These two mean the same thing. Okay? What is this asking you to do? It's asking you to take the f function and multiply the g function. So you would have 3x squared plus x times 4x minus 2. What would you do now? Would you leave it like this? No, you always simplify. So what would you do? You're going to FOIL. 3x squared times 4x is 12x cubed minus 6x squared plus 4x squared minus 2x. And then what? Did I do it right? No, don't FOIL, don't factor. Don't pull out an x, leave it like this. What if it said, what if I gave you this problem, would you understand? What does that mean, FF of x? It means take the f function, which is this one, and multiply it by itself. Okay? What if it said f of x over g of x? Can you rename this? Yep, you could do f over g of x. These mean the same thing. Everyone got that? Good. Now I've got one for you. What if I give you how many of you could get this one right? Five of you? What would you write for an answer?
X over g of x.
1 over x what?
1 over x.
X minus 3?
Plus this.
Very good. Wow, you guys are good. So what did we do? First of all, f over g would be x minus 3 over x squared minus 9. Then what you're going to do, you're going to know to factor this. Very simple to factor that. Then you're going to simplify, and your final answer is 1 over x plus 3. Some people would forget the 1 in the numerator. Now, when would it be x plus 3? If I would have done g over f of x. Then you would have had that on top, and then when you factored it, you would have gotten x plus 3 on the top. You don't need that 1 down there after you factor it. Okay? So, plan to see something like that on your test. You'll be given two functions. For example, if I give you these two functions, on your test, it's going to say, given f of x is x minus 3 and g of x is x squared minus 9. What it's going to do is say find f, it's going to be listed like this, f plus g of x, it's going to say f minus g of x, it's going to say g minus f of x, it's going to say maybe gx, it's going to say f times g of x, it might say f over g of x. You better know what to do with all of them and simplify your answers. So that might be a question on your test. If you get this one, please don't leave it as 1 times the other. You want to FOIL it out. That's your simplifying. So far, so good? Okay, so we just went over 4 different ways to combine. I know, that's why. 4 ways to combine functions. But I told you there was 5 ways. So the 4 ways are add, subtract, multiply, and divide, right? Easy? There's one more way. It's called the composition of functions, and Jordan started saying it. Did you guys learn
I hate these, I'm just
Did you learn that?
Unfortunately, yes.
That's your 5th way of combining functions. This does not mean multiply with that circle. It's an open circle. Hey, I'm on the back. If you look at the back of your notes, I'm in this section right here. What composition of functions is when you're taking the output of one function and you're making it the input of another function. And that's what this composition of functions is.
Oh, I did that.
Now, this can be written another way. These two mean the same thing. This is read f of g of x. Both of these are read the same way. If I gave you this, g, it's a small circle. This can be written g, parenthesis, f, parenthesis, x, parenthesis, parenthesis. Now, this one would be read g of f of x. They're both different. For this top one, what you would do in either case, you would take this x value. This would be your input. You're going to input this into the g function, and you're going to get something. It's your output. You're going to take that output, and you're going to put it into the f function. So you always start with what's inside, closest to the x. You're going to plug that number into the function that's closest to this letter. So in this one, you would plug whatever you have here, you'd plug that into f. Evaluate it. And then what you get, your output, you take that answer and you plug it into your g function. Very simple. So look at this example right here. Example 3. You have 2 different functions. It says, and I'm going to rewrite it because it's kind of hard to read here. Okay, these are your given functions. If I ask you, here's A. A says, find g of f of 2, which is the same as g f. Now, why am I writing this 2 different ways? You have an ACT test coming up. You have to know both ways to write that, express that function, that composition. This is not asking you to multiply g times f. That circle, or when you have 2 functions nestled in parentheses like that, those are compositions. What you're going to do, you're going to take the number 2, and you're going to plug it in the f function. So first evaluate, put a 2 right here. So what's f of 2? Four times 4 is 16, 16 plus 1 is 17. So you get 17. When you plug 2 in here, you get 17. Then what you're going to do is take this output, and you're going to plug it into the g function. You're going to put a 17 right here. So now what is g of 17? 1 over 19. Does everyone understand that? So for B, B says, what's f of g of negative 1? What would you do here? Anybody?
From negative 1 to to G.
Put -1 into G, what do you get? Quickly do it in your head, what's
One.
1 over
One.
-1? You get 1, right?
Yes.
Did you have a question? Oh, you're just stretching? So when you plug -1 into here, you get 1 over 1. Then what do? You're gonna plug 1 into the f function, and you're gonna get 1 squared is 1, 1 times 4 is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5. Everyone got that?
Yeah.
Easy? Well, what if they do this? C, we're in C. Look what they did. So here's your two given functions. Here's f and g, and now here's c. C is saying, what's g of f of x? What would you do now?
Yeah.
We're not plugging a number in now. Now we're plugging the letter x. What would you do?
Put the x function in for x of the g problem.
Okay, so what do you get when you plug x in here?
Just same problem.
You get the same problem. So now what we have to do, this is our output now. Now what do? How do you plug this now? Now you want to find g of 4x squared plus 1. What would you do now? This has to go in here. Does that make sense? And you end up with 1 over. And simplify. You're going to lose a point on your test if you do not simplify. And just leave it like that. Did I lose anyone? No? You're good? Okay. We are not going to do, when you're finding the domain, what you want to do is look at the domain of each separate function. Do not simplify the problem. You're going to find the domain of each one individual. So what's the domain of f of x? What's the domain of g of x? And the overlap, the intersection of them would be your domain of the composition, or if you're adding or subtracting, multiplying or dividing. That's how that works. We're not going to spend time on the domains, but I did put it there. We decided, the pre-calc teachers decided that we were not going to stress domain in this section. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to take a function. See this function? It's called h of x. I'm going to take this function and I'm going to break this up into two different functions. And then I'm going to take the composition of those two different functions to get h of x. So, see if you can follow this. If I call f of x, I'm going to use a different letter than h. This is your given. H of x is given to you. If I say let f of x equals, now look at the big picture. This is the square root of something. Square root of something. So I'm going to just write the square root of x. Then I'm going to look not at the big picture, I'm going to look at what's underneath my big picture and call it g of x. And g of x I'm going to call 3x squared plus 1. Does everybody see what I did? I've got the square root of something, and then I have 3x squared plus 1. I'm going to take these two functions and do a composition of them to get h of x. So, am I going to say h of x is equal to f of g of x? Or would h of x be g of f of x? One of these is right and one is wrong.
Very top one.
Yeah,
So, does everybody see what I did?
yeah.
You hit it. You got it. You said this one is correct, and you are right. Because, remember what you do, you plug this, you wanna take this g of x, and you wanna stick this into the f of x. And if you do that, if you take this and you plug it in f, do you not get this? Yes. So with that, I wanna practice a couple of them with you. Go to the very back. We're gonna do 33, 35, and 37 together. 33. So we've got f of x. I'm just rewriting it because it's hard to read. And I'm blowing this up, so it's probably easier when I blow this up. But in case you can't see it on your paper, here it is. Now, I'm gonna give me two different letters. H of x, and I'm gonna call another one g of x. What's the big picture on this problem? The cube root of something. What's underneath that cube root?
X squared plus 2.
Okay, now, f of x. How would we combine these two to get f of x? You put g first or h first? H, g, x. And now, double check, does this work? If I take g of x and stick it in here, do I get f of x?
So the h of x is the function? Will that be?
F of
the
x is
rule?
the function.
Well,
F of x is this function.
Right.
But what we're doing is we're creating two different functions. We're splitting, what we're doing is we're taking f of x and we're splitting it into two different functions.
I meant as the parent function. As cube root of x.
Yes,
Will
well-
that be the same in every problem?
well, it would, yeah, but don't worry about the parent function. Because this is not one of the parents of what you're used to.
Right.
This is not a cubic, that's not what that is. This is, you're taking a function and you're splitting it into two different functions. Like here's another one, let's do this one. See this one?
Yes, it'd be x to the 7th power.
So h of x is 7x to the 3rd minus 10x plus 17. What number do you see there, 7 or a 2?
7.
Okay, I thought it was a 2. All right, we'll make it a 7. It doesn't matter what it is. We're gonna make it a 7. Now, give me, let's use two different letters.
Oh, it's good, Gina.
Gina.
Good.
What do you wanna name g of x?
X to the 7th power.
Okay? What do you wanna name f of x?
7x cubed minus 2x plus 17.
Good job.
Oh, thanks.
And now, what would you call h of x? Is it f of g of x or g of f of x?
G of f.
G, and it's not correct if you did it the other way. Because if you had an f out here, you'd be putting that into this. But you wanna put this, remember you do this first, this goes into that. So do you get the h of x? Yes. Last one, see how many of you can do this one on your own.
Okay.
Give me a g of x. Give me an h of x. Want you to split this up. And then I want you to tell me what f of x is. What do you want to call g of x?
1 over x.
What do you want to call h of x?
3x squared plus 5x minus 7.
And what do you want to call f of x?
G H X.
job. Could I have written? Yeah, they mean the same thing. Watch that circle, it's a little small open circle. It does not mean multiply. Do you get this?
Yeah.
Okay, now, I wanna do 41 through 44 because I think it's kinda complicated the way it's written in the assignment, but it's a very easy problem to do. What you have here, right here at the bottom, these are two functions. This one is called f of x, and this is g of x. The x values are your input, these are your output. So these are given. So when you for the f function, when you input 1, you get a 3. When you input a 2, you get a 5. For this, the g1, when you input a 1, you get a 5. Now look what they give you. Here's your assignment. So those two are givens. Then over on this side, these are the assignments. So, look what they want you to do here for this problem. You gotta fill in this T-chart. 4 is given and 5 is given. See, these are question marks. You're gonna fill in what these are. So, how did they get a 4 right here? Well, if you input a 1 in the f function, what comes out? So you go here. If you put a 1 in the f function, what comes out? A 3. Then what would you do with that 3? You put 3 in the g function. So 3 now is in the g function, and what comes out is a 4. Does that make sense? That's what composition of functions is. You're inputting something into a function, and what you get for your output becomes your input of the next function. So, let's fill this chart in, 41. What would you do for 2? You're gonna put a 2 in the f function. And what comes out? A 5, it's your output. Then you're gonna take a 5 and do what with it? Put it in the g function, and what's the answer? A 2. So this is a 2. They did the next one for you. How about 4? When you put 4 in the f function, what comes out? A 2. Then you take 2, and it becomes the input of the g function, and you get a. And the last one. 5 in the f function becomes a 3. 3 in the g function becomes a 4. Go down to 43 now. Read this one. What does this say? F of x. Anyone have an idea what to do here?
Plug F in and then F.
You're gonna plug the number that they give you. So you're gonna put a 1 in here, and you get a 3, and then what? Square it?
Nope.
No.
Put that down. No, my bad.
Then you're gonna take the 3, and you get a 1.
Whoops.
How about the next one? 2. 2 into the f function, what comes out? A 5. Then this becomes your input of the f function. 5, you get a 3. Next. 3. 3 into the f function, you get a 1. 1 back into the f function, and you get a 3. 4. 2, 2, 5, and 5, 3, 3. Are you guys with me on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Alright, now, you do not have to do questions 9 through 12, you can skip them. But, what I did was I left them there because you might have an extra credit question on a test. Or I ask you, what is the domain? I'm gonna let you guys do a little research on that. See if you can figure it out.
Yeah.
Because you might find an extra credit question on your test that might, they're not that hard. Okay? So, I want to also go to question 17, 18, and 19. Particularly, let's do 18 together. Every year, I get asked this question. Every year, every class. Every year, every class, they ask me this question, 18. Read it. You know what this is? This is a language. And that problem tells you what to do. You gotta know what to do. You gotta know the parts of it. Anyone think they know how to handle this problem? It says, this is what's given. It has f of g of 3. And then it says minus 2 times f of 1. Anyone think they know what to do? What do?
You plug in 3 for G into G.
3 because it's closest, right?
Yeah, plug 3 in.
3 right here. And what do you get?
6
3 squared is 9.
minus 3.
And 9 minus 3 is 6. Does everybody see what she did? She plugged 3 into the g function and got 6. Then what do you do with that 6?
Plug it into F.
Then you plug it into f. So what is 1 plus 6?
7.
So this whole thing results in a 7.
And then you subtract. First you plug in 1 into the x, so that'd be 2. And then 2 times 2.
You plugged 1 into the f function, 1 plus 1 is 2.
2 times 2 is
So-
4.
This whole thing will give you a 2. This is a 2. And now it's just asking you to multiply. 2 times 2 is 4.
So 7 minus
So what's
4?
7 minus 4?
3.
This is like one of your questions on your test. This whole thing equals 3. Is that hard?
No, not at all.
No. Now, what's the difference between one more, and I'm gonna let you guys work. Look at 25 and 28.
Did you put 2 into F?
Is there a
You
difference?
add grade and you put that answer in G.
They're asking you to do
That one's in G. Yeah. You get
This?
25.
that. Those are two different problems.
6 squared minus 3.
We're getting the language down here, the symbols.
Or is there a last
What's the
line?
difference between this problem?
I thought it was a 1. One of them is surrender. So it's 30. Think so? Where?
What's the difference? What does FF mean?
Multiply.
So for this one, it's asking you to multiply. So this is what I like to do. I like to write f of x So, if we're asking you to take f and f, we want you to multiply these two. So what's x squared times x squared? This is the f, this is the f function, this is the f function, what do you get?
X to the 4.
Isn't that next?
Now what about this one? The reason why I wrote it separate is because I want you to see this one.
Is that cubed?
I did 3.
Oh, I thought that was a 2.
No, that's 3.
Is it a 3?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
Alright, let's say it's a 3.
I'm a little smart.
Let's say it's a 3. What's your answer then? So this is nice. Remember what I said you had to have a C or above in Algebra 2 to be in this class? I'm not teaching you. What do you do when you multiply? You add exponents, right? So that's something. Someone might write x to the 9th power. It is incorrect. And unfortunately, I can't teach you that. That's something you're supposed to know coming into this class. Now let's do this one. What's this one gonna be? This one's saying take the f function and you're gonna plug it into the same f function. So what do you have? You have x cubed, cubed. And now what's your answer?
X7.
Now, you better remember these, this is a power to power, it's x to the 9. You guys got this? Alright, finish this page, and the other page for homework, and that's it.
Sorry?
Remember,
Oh, that's the 13th, okay.
I